wanted to. Blast off in this bitch, nigga 9mm in a two-seater with meat cleavers. When you live in hell, man, your friends is demons. I don't blame y'all, won't love me either. That'll lose it all, my input in the wrong ones when they withdraw from my life. Moment you land grace is the moment they'll take flight. That's
Alright, y'all, it's your boy Warren G. I'm leaving the FINISHLINE Motorsports shop. Just did a little tinkering with the 10, trying to fuel out. Shout out to the homies Dre and John for letting me fuck with them. I did make power over pump. I didn't make as much power over pump as what I thought. So back to the drawing board. I'm not going to disclose any numbers because I don't care about the numbers. Like I said, I just wanted to see if it made anything over my pump gas tune. It did, but it only made 3 horsepower. Well, like 3.5. So yeah, it was a plus. But for sure, I did watch the homie Dre tune somebody's Gixxer, and I would definitely recommend FINISHLINE Motorsports if y'all just happen to want a dyno tune. They do their shit the right way. 100%. Y'all gotta support the local shops and stuff. There's only so much you can get from pretty much like a mail-in, you know, different conditions. It'll kind of play with your final product. So what I did just now, because like I said, I wasn't caring about the final product, I've been out before on this fuel, and I made changes to my AFRs already. So this time I left the AFRs completely where they were at, and I just only played with timing. And like I said, I did make about 3.5 horsepower over my pump map, but I'm gonna go and play with something else. The fuel, if it would have made a bunch of power, then I would have definitely came out and told y'all what it was. But like I said, the overall product wasn't quite as much as I wanted it to make over pump. So it's all good though. That was a pretty productive Saturday. Like I said, definitely if y'all need any dyno tuning done, hit them up with your final product. So what I did just now, because like I said, I wasn't caring about the final product, I've been out before on this fuel, and I made changes to my AFRs already. So this time I left the AFRs completely where they were at, and I just only played with timing. And like I said, I did make about 3.5 horsepower over my pump map, but I'm gonna go and play with something else. The fuel, if it would have made a bunch of power, then I would have definitely came out and told y'all what it was. But like I said, the overall product wasn't quite as much as I wanted it to make over pump. So it's all good though. That was a pretty productive Saturday. Like I said, definitely if y'all need any dyno tuning done, hit them up. All right, y'all, let's try this again. Why do I not have a max effort setup bike? All right, first and foremost, before diving down this road that so many people get butthurt over, you can't use all the braking power that this bike has. You just can't. I don't care what you fucking say, what you got, it ain't gonna happen. If you go and squeeze 100% of these fucking brakes, you either finna flip your ass over or you finna low side like a motherfucker. So you can't use them. These bikes are overbuilt. Next is, when I rode Mez's bike and I mentioned, I said, I'm so used to using my rear brake that when I rode his bike, it was weird for me. when I'm cruising on a normal ride like this, I really don't have to use my front brake much. I have engine braking and then I use my rear brake. So I normally don't use my front brake that much. I cover my front brake because I know how to use it if I need to. But for this, I could just use my rear brake. Look, rear brake only. It's fine. Like, yeah, I know if I stand on that bitch, it's gonna slide. But I just normally don't. I downshift and I use my front brake. I mean my rear brake. That's next. There are situations to where a rear brake, panicking and locking that bitch up is a bad thing. My brother, when he wrecked my Honda, that's what he did. He locked up his rear brake. He wasn't prepared to control that bike while sliding it, and he had to come off of it. He low-sided, slid, bike hit a car, he hit a curb, and he was kind of beat up and all of that. What the hell? But that rear brake is what actually got him fucked up. Damn, fucking rough ass road. So there are situations to where using one or the other will get you messed up, and I'm going to explain why, and that is the reason why I have both my brakes. So let's just say that I'm riding on a gravel road, which I have a bunch that I ride through. If you take off your rear brake and need to come to a stop on a gravel road, now it doesn't even have to be gravel. It could be a good road that just has some gravel on it, because things happen. You hit that front brake, nothing's gonna happen. From there, you gotta hold on for the ride and hope that you can steer around whatever you gotta go towards. In that situation, a rear brake will help you. I'm not saying that a rear brake will stop you if you need to come stop, but if you need to grab a lot of brakes and you grab front brake and nothing happens, the rear brake is there for you. Yes, you will probably slide if in a situation like that, but go. You will probably slide, but I feel a lot more comfortable at that point in time with a rear brake also. The other day when I was out riding, I was on a local road in the middle of the city, and they were doing some construction, and I guess as the cars constantly drive, they was kicking the rocks into one spot. Well, when I came up on that spot, I definitely needed to brake, and I hit front brake, nothing happened. I used rear, and I literally slid to a complete stop. But it worked. That's the point, is it worked. The front brake in that instance, I would have not been able to stop. There was a car coming. It would have hit me, or I would have hit him. Either one. So that rear brake did save me. But in a situation to where your body position is not ready for that slide, if you panic, slam on that rear brake, the bike is going to go sideways. You know, the first thing that normally happens on situations like that is you will low-side it. You will low-side that bike. If you let go of it after like a real hard slide and it catches, it will throw you off high side. So that's the reason why I have both brakes, fronts and back still. Now, the reason why I prefer to keep both my front brakes, when I had my Honda, it had around 30,000 miles on it, my fork still started leaking. I was out riding, I was keeping up on maintenance of my bike, but I'm kind of used to how my bike rides. So whenever I went to stop, I put in some input on my front brakes and nothing. It slowed down, but it wasn't like I'm stopping as fast as I should have been. So I went home. Damn. So I went home riding real carefully. inspected my front brake system, and I realized that my fork seals were leaking. Shit, coronavirus. And it leaked down on my rotor. And of course, wet rotor with, you know, pad speaks for itself. I ended up having to get my fork seals redone. So now let's just take that situation, and it wasn't leaking for a long time. I guess it might. Holy shit! Woo! Fuck! God damn, boy! That's a fucking ladder. A fucking ladder sitting in the middle of 35. God damn. Gotta be on your P's and Q's. That could have been bad. But riding with one hand and shit. Just gotta be paying attention when y'all are riding. So anyway, in that situation, if I would have had a single front brake rotor set up, my stopping power would have been compromised even more, to the point where it probably would have been just like as much power as a rear brake. If you ever work on your bike, get some greasy hands, touch all of your rotors, and go for a ride. Hit them brakes and see what happens. Much or nothing. After you ride and get them hot and it starts to burn the oil off, it'll get back to its normal stop. But that's why I don't do a max effort setup for brakes. I don't want to be riding, and it doesn't even have to be some shit to where my shit's leaking. I mean, y'all seen the homie Jack's oil, his drain plug come out, and that oil got all over Solo's bike. So let's just say that I'd have been closer to him in that situation, and it got all over my rotor. Well, my stopping power would have been greatly compromised. I don't feel comfortable with that. My brakes are staying on. That's as simple as that. I know you drop a bunch of weight off and a bunch of other things, but nope, not happening. Keeping on my brakes. So that's that. I left Finish Line Performance today. I have another fuel in the tank right now. It is not E85. It's not even worth mentioning, really. I was expecting, I don't know, 7-8 horsepower over pump gas, and I only made like 3.5. Yeah, so yeah, like 3.5 horsepower over pump gas. At this point, it wasn't working. I will go and reevaluate E85, but it made more power for sure, but it didn't make as much as I wanted. So I do have a plug on that fuel. If I have to run it, I have a map for it now that will be saved to my desktop. I could just upload, I can flash it and upload that map. Boom, good to go, done, over with. I'm gonna mention something else. Well, I'm gonna try E85 again, is what I'm gonna do. And see, I have good comparison numbers on all these days out. Pump versus whatever fuel I'm using. And I'm not gonna run MR12 because it's leaded. And so that's that. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. So, by the way, rear brake, downshift. So what I want to show y'all was, if y'all notice, most people with Zx10s do not have factory steering dampers on their bikes anymore. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first got on this bike, coming off of my Honda, I came off my Honda. I went to the motorcycle shop. We did all the paperwork. Boom, I left. The first time I pinned the throttle full 100% and the bike was neutered, it was head shaking so bad, I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, this is crazy. I could pin the Honda in any position and it had zero. Matter of fact, I think I had it head shake one time, but I was doing some dumb shit in a turn, racing the car. And I hit one of those, I don't know, we call them titties. In the middle of the road, you know, you got the line, then you got that little hump, that little reflector thing. I hit it and I was leaned. Well, the bike came up, sat down, and the wheel wasn't straight with in line with the rear, so it got into some head shake, but it wasn't a lot. It corrected it. The little ESD, HSD or whatever it was, Honda steering damper or whatever that shit said, kicked on, and that was it. Besides that, I never had one problem with the Honda. When I got on this bike, first time I pinned the throttle, I was like, man, come on, bro. This is bad. So I remember watching Race Addict's video, and he actually had mentioned that lowering the bike helped it to be more stable, right? And so I lowered that bike, and it did. Little kids waving at me. It did become more stable, but there were some roads that I couldn't, or I didn't feel comfortable with at the time racing on, because it was real bumpy, and you come in front end of these bikes get real light, and they were kind of touchy. I just killed some bug right on my visor. I mean, it's big as shit. That's great. I'll clean it off when I get home. But after riding this bike more, and I had to talk with the homie Mez, and the homie Mez still had his factory steering damper. He was like, "No, man, you just gotta learn how to ride the bike. If you fight this bike, it'll head shake you. If you're in the wrong position, if you do anything wrong to these bikes with some power, they'll head shake, because they get so light in the front so easily." And I rode my bike lowered 1 inch with no strap. I raced all the time hitting the first gear, and it was never a big deal. I got used to the bike. So I still see people say, "Man, it was the Reaper's video too. He rode that ZX10. It was head shaking." And I made a comment saying, "Man, if you ride that bike the way that the bike wants you to ride it, you want a head shake." The homie Jack rode the HP4. It head shook the shit out of him. And then his homie got on it, and boom, they're racing all day long, no problems. So it's just some things that you have to do and not do on these bikes. But it's not like, "Oh man, this bike is gonna kill me. I can't race it." Factory damper on and staying on. Y'all don't ever see me head shake. Now, I have had a couple more instances where I was doing some dumb shit, probably about 2 months ago on 35. I'm gonna just leave it at that. But I ended up doing the same type of thing. I was on a lean going around with some cars. I was probably I was at some triple digits in Mexico in 35, Interstate 35 Mexico. And the front of the bike came up, and it sat down, and it slightly shook, but it wasn't enough for me to panic. You don't top throttle when it starts to shake. It makes it worse. You just get lighter on the bars. The bike will ride itself as long as you let it. My instructor for my M endorsement told me something, and it stuck with me. He said the bike wants to stay up. It wants to go in a straight line, and it wants to stay up. You are the reason why it does something else. Now, the secondary part to that is, if something is crazy bad, like you know, you got some type of suspension set up or that's wrong, or maybe a brake pad dragging on one side, then you're inducing more problems without trying. But for the most part, this bike, you got the gas, it will go straight unless you do something else to it. I just want to leave y'all with that. So I'm gonna do some more testing. Talking to the homie Mez. I have some more testing to do on the dyno. I'm not gonna disclose numbers, but what I will do is probably show some charts. Not of what this one did, but there will be some more testing over some of these products that supposed to make a lot more power. I'm gonna do some testing. So stay tuned.
You can walk through it, that's bad luck. Forges tucked on my Chevy truck, Posse tracked in my rear end. Even from the front of my bitch, you can still see her rear end. While we must remain good friends, think of me as my rec expense. Her arches like Chris.